Hey there, guys. Welcome back to Starnet Research. Today I have Velvet Joke with me again, as we're going to be talking about the latest season on Peacemaker. Thank you for coming onto the show, Velvet.
Absolutely, no worries, Brian. It was a quite involved season, so we did a little breakdown of each episode, and we'll chat about what happened.
Yeah, because I gotta say, I had no idea that what to expect with this season, especially for a character who I have no knowledge of before the last Suicide Squad movie.
Okay, so I'm assuming you watched season one, then, though, didn't you?
Oh yeah, no, it's just because usually like with DC characters, I'm usually familiar with most of them, but for Peacemaker, I've never saw any attempts before James Gunn threw his hat in. And for the first season, it had been fully my favorite, but I did like some of the character interactions, some of the humor, and just I just felt the plot. It was just basically retelling of the same story from the movie, just with discount Staros.
Okay.
It's just because, like, with the butterflies, it's like they're controlling people, just like Starro would have. It
Mm-hmm.
just that they're completely inside the people instead of just like externally on people.
Okay. True. That is yeah. I guess because it was kind of a hive mind type thing. So yeah. I definitely see what you're saying, but they still seem to have some kind of individual personalities.
Oh yeah, like I would say what drew me was the character dynamics, since it's just one. I guess could say superhero or villain instead of a whole group. And first of all, I want to say hi to everyone here with Angel of Death and Hunter Iggy. Glad you guys come aboard. Let's see. Saw despite season one, I didn't care for season two. In fact, season two might be my least favorite James Gunn project. Well, season two. I'd say it's a bit better in my opinion. I think in some cases, though, I can understand why for you, Angel, if you're not so crazy with certain parts of it, which we'll discuss later. But I gotta say, I really care about Chris because I didn't think I would care much about him after he killed Rick Flag. But through season one, I'm actually glad that he has regrets over his decision and not so gung ho about killing just to achieve peace.
Exactly. And yeah, there's quite an evolution of his character since he was introduced in Suicide Squad. Because before he was just a weapon that you pointed him in the direction, you gave him orders, he followed orders. And with now seeing him again in, excuse me, in season one and now in season two, he is now incurring the wrath of those decisions when he was just a weapon.
Yep, yep, that's true. And I would say, for especially for Star season two, he's definitely feeling that regret since, well, one for ads kind of selling her mother out with the Task Force X operations,
Mm-hmm.
because that left basically Chris and the whole crew without much of a job.
Right, right. Only Economos was able to hold on to his job.
True, though usually he's just the tech guy, but luckily that because you can't really replace much tech people as much as you can with I guess with soldiers in this case.
Yeah. Absolutely. So should we get into it? Should we start at episode one? We talk about the things that happened, and then at the end we can talk about how we felt about it as a whole, and progress what could possibly be for the future.
Yep, yep. Just want to see what the latest comments so far. It's just get the feeling after having to write so many projects around the same time, he just kind of got burnt out. Hmm, that could be possible, but yeah, sometimes it happens at some points. But we'll get to that later because let's see. Yeah, I would say for season two, definitely dealt with some themes of depression. I don't know. Would you agree, Velvet?
Yeah. It was depression and how they had to, as a team. Boy, there were a lot of themes going on. Yes, there was depression and there was grief, and there was revenge, and the gelling of them as a team. They're all kind of oddballs from different sort of walks of life, and somehow they work together. They're the 11th Street kids, and at the end, we'll talk about how they go to form a different agency and what that means compared to the comics and things like that. But yeah, I feel like there were a lot of things. I mean, depression was definitely. I've always felt something that James does a little differently when he approaches the superhero movies, whether he was doing Guardians of the Galaxy or Suicide Squad or this stuff or Creature Commandos. He always wants to tell somewhat of a heartfelt story, and it's like the story is the primary, and the fact that they're soups is secondary.
I agree with that. And I feel like for with the first episode, that definitely dealt with depression because of like for Chris, how he's pretty much it looks like he's like on house arrest sort of because he doesn't do much of anything. He just stays in his dad's house.
Yeah, well, I think we're starting off with in the beginning of the season, and he really felt that when he saved the world at the end of season one, that would come with something, whether that was a job or respect. And I don't think he really got that. So, like when we first start off that episode, we ended up with the Justice League retcon. So
Yeah,
I know you like that, Brian.
I mean it makes sense because I mean I just felt like to me partially like if you're going to really do your own version of DC or any comic book universe, I personally feel like it should be a complete reset
Mm-hmm.
because I just feel like it's just a bit time consuming just to try to retread some things. Like even for with Peacemaker, how to change up the jokes instead of the whole Aquaman with the fish thing, it was something with Green Lantern. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, I believe it was. He was bitching that Peacemaker said something about whatever his fetish is supposed to be, and he's like, "Oh, this guy thinks I blah blah blah."
Yeah, though they did a good job with. I mean, probably with CGI or something, or just did a good job recreating that scene where instead of the Justice League with the Justice Gang, along with both of the supers coming in at after the whole butterfly incident.
Yeah, exactly. So we get the Justice League retcon, and then we get, of course, the famous Peacemaker dance. Dun, 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 dun. I don't know
Uh,
how to do it, but you know.
Guys, like because of their reveal at a later episode, that was an emote on Fortnite, and halfway through that got taken down. Just
I,
be,
I I did see that because they were saying online that they were basically doing Nazi symbols. So.
yeah, although they did bring it back just with the little alteration.
Right, right, right. So it starts off. Chris is asleep, and Eagly is trying to wake him up, and Eagly wants to go out. And Chris looks out the window. He sees that it's snowing out, and he's like, I don't want to go out in the cold in my underwear. So he decides to go to his dad's, the QUC, which was the gate to, they're like 99 doors, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
to other dimensions. So he says, I'll let Eagly out in there. I won't freeze my butt off, whatever. So he lets Eagly go out there for a few minutes, and he's like, Eagly, Eagly, come on, let's go, let's go. And Eagly's like pecking at one particular door, and so Chris looks and he's like, holy shit, there's a stack of helmets here, just like in front of my door, but they're a little bit different.
Yep.
And then he sees the keypad similar to the keypad that he uses to get in the QUC. So he gives his code a shot. Doot, 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 doot. Boom. Door opens.
And then after that, we see that, and Chris gets to see his dad again. Just
Yeah, he sees
just
that his dad is alive in this universe, and he sort of freaks out, and he runs right back through the door.
it's just crazy because they didn't explain much in the first season, but it just seemed like just a interdimensional closet space, but I guess it's just another pocket universe similar to what Luthor created in the Superman movie, just apparently a more stable door.
Right. And I want to reiterate, let's not forget, at the end of season 1, Chris literally shoots his dad in the head.
Yeah.
Dead. And
Yeah.
and at the end of that, even they do like they did in the comics, because in the comics his dad haunts him in the background, and they started that at the end of that season, at the end of that episode, the last episode where he was still talking like his dad. So I thought they were going to do that into season 2, but they did not do that, obviously, because they did the alternate universe, Augie. So very emotional for him, hence the freak out. And
Yeah.
I forgot to mention, before he did that, we see the unknown alien that sort of walks in the QUC all the time, and he sort of dumps a rat into like a furnace unit.
Yeah, just like he never waves or anything. He just dumps his trash in that little incinerator thing or something.
Right. And I've seen a few online try to like analyze like what he is, because we never find out in the series what he is. It's never revealed. But his is the only door that swings out. All the other doors swing in.
Hmm.
So I don't know if maybe he created that little pocket universe area. We don't know. It's never revealed.
Yeah, I didn't think they were going to go straightforward with the multiverse in Peacemakers in the season of Peacemaker, but everyone else is doing the whole multiverse, so why not?
Sure. So after he does his freak out, we flash to Peacemaker going to do tryouts for the Justice Gang. So Adebayo is driving him to tryouts, and he's already freaking out. He thinks that they think he's, like a loser, and he doesn't want to be portrayed as a loser anymore. And he gets there, they pull up, and White Rabbit comes out crying.
I'll admit, when I first saw that, I was thinking like, is this a legit character? And I looked it up, and she is.
Yeah, she's a Batman baddie.
Oh God, a bat! I know. I can't believe it. A Batman villain named White Rabbit. It's like we already got Mad Hatter and Alice.
Right. So, so in the tryouts, of course, we end up finding out that it's Maxwell. First of all, the tryouts, it's Maxwell Lord, the head of the, I guess he's the finance of the Justice Gang. We've got Guy Gardner, and we've got Hawkgirl, and they're behind sort of a glass, and Chris is sitting in front of them, and they're asking interview questions, and they ask him about killing, and Chris is trying to tell him his story, and meanwhile they're talking about like their butts and popcorn and all kinds of stuff. And meanwhile, Chris is hearing all this, and they don't realize until the end that the mics are not, because Chris is like, you guys are like talking about your butts and stuff. And then Maxwell Lord like flicks the button, and he goes, "Can you hear my voice now?" And he's like, "Yes." And then he flicks it the other way. He goes, "Can you hear my voice now?" And he goes, "Yes." And he goes, "God damn it! Who set this up?" And Guy Gardner, of course, fucked it up. And so it's a good laugh.
Yeah, I was like, wow, they really changed Maxwell Lord, because especially if you've seen the Wonder Woman 84, or even
Ugh.
I think he was also he was also in the first season of Supergirl, and had a one episode appearance in Justice League Unlimited.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, he's been in the comics for years. So yeah, he's been an evil guy. He's been a good guy. He definitely jumps the line.
Yeah. Apparently, they're keeping him just as a good guy, at least from what James Gunn has said.
Right. But it was funny, like after, Chris just gets up and leaves. He's not dealing with that shit at that point. And Maxwell Lord afterwards, he goes, "Oh my God." He goes, "Has this been like this the whole day?" And he goes, "What the fuck?" He goes, "I talked about the bunny girl's, I forget what he calls, basically her crotch. Her camel toe." He goes, "I must have mentioned that 60 times. No wonder she went out crying."
Got it. Oh,
Yeah.
let's see. Apparently there's a Marvel White Rabbit as well. Huh. Didn't know about that. Let's see. And yeah, and looks like, yeah, according to Death, James Gunn has said he's more of a fan of the original character of Maxwell Lord from Just League International, where he's a sleazy businessman. And okay, that I say it definitely works.
Absolutely. So, in that episode, then we flash to Amelia Hardcore. She is in a psychiatrist situation, but it is so she can get okayed to possibly work in espionage or the FBI or Argus or any of those lettered companies of government persuasion. And the psychiatrist says that she has toxic masculinity. And
you,
she turns around and calls him a C word.
yeah, I was like, what? But
But
man, she and Chris, they got screwed over the most after ads rat out her mom.
yeah, because they reveal that Amanda Waller, although is in trouble and is going through the court system, she still has enough pull to blackball them from working in government service. So she calls him a sea bag, and yeah, it's not good. So then we flash to her getting back to her apartment after destroying her car's front thing. She punches it to death and gets a nice bloody hand. And Chris is waiting at her apartment to see how her interview went, because obviously his interview went shitty. And then Chris asks her about something that happened on a boat, and we don't really know what that thing on the boat is, and she turns around and disses him really fucking hard. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
like
I agree. I'll say it first out. I'm not exactly a big, like, I guess by modern terms, a shipper for Chris and Amelia.
shipper. What is that?
Like, where you ship two characters, like you want them to be in a relationship.
Oh, okay, all right. I had never heard that before. All right.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but apparently something must have happened. We don't know. Obviously, we get more information as we go later into the series. She disses him, I want to say, disproportionately, uh, disproportionately largely. No, I don't know. It was definitely disproportionate. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's like she has a whole tough girl thing where she like wants nothing to do with him despite his many attempts.
Right. And now, so we find out that Economos is actually watching Chris's house, like monitoring it for Argus. And whenever he uses the QUC, these energies read up, and Rick Flag flips out. And so they're trying to monitor the situation. And Chris is super depressed after his meeting with Amelia. And hence we get the orgy scene that I know you don't like, but I thought was freaking hilarious.
I mean, I guess it's funny the fact that he's wasn't participating in it at all, but I don't know. I guess just to me it's just like for any comic book series, I don't know, to me I just don't see it having such a very adult themes. I guess I always felt like that's more like something for between kids and teens more normally, but I
Yeah.
know that for some characters they do operate in that area, ergo with graphic novels. So, but it's just kind of crazy just because when you look at how James Gunn did Superman and Guardians, and yet with Peacemaker, it's all over the place.
Well, I think it's a different audience. I know the stories in essence are supposed to lead into each other, but you as a parent still has to monitor what you want your children to watch. And this is an adult themed show. The whole first season was adult themed, maybe not quite to that degree, but I mean, I think we still saw boobs in that episode in the
Y-
first season.
yep, we
Um,
did.
so, but yeah, getting past the orgy. And I think his intention was probably he didn't want to be alone at that point. So he called up some of his party people, and then he ended up getting too fucked up, because he was doing coke and drinking. and he decides, maybe he needs to check out that other universe again where he saw his dad alive. So he stumbles back to the QUC,
Yep.
and he sees he just kind of like checks out and he sees Keith's alive and his dad's alive.
Yeah, that was probably, my God, just that's the part where I feel bad for the guy, just because through this other world he gets to see his family, at least with his dad and brother, alive and well, and the fact that for that version of August, he's a more caring father. He's
Yes.
not so critical or demeaning or anything. He's just like an actual good person, and the fact that the they're a superhero team because you get to see a little bit of a trophy room. Because Angel did point out that we see a rainbow creature and ultra humanite Easter egg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did. Which
Yeah,
is
so it's just,
also great. That's a really, not everyone loves James Gunn's storytelling style, and I know not everyone loved the finale of this, and not everyone loved this season. Um, but he is a comic book guy at heart, and he loves to put those little Easter eggs in. And I think from a comic book nerd perspective, I think that's pretty cool.
yeah. I I guess it's just funny because I feel like, given the fact that it's been pointed out that this is the last season, that there's not going to be a season 3 or everything at Peacemaker. I felt like, given how it ends, it's a pretty crazy way to end a show, and the fact that for seeing, if we're going to see any more of Chris and the other 11th Street kids,
Hmm.
it's going to be just through other movies or shows, just as guest characters or whatever minor roles they might have, or they just might make a new show entirely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a good shot that we could see him in the next season of Creature Commandos. We may see him a little bit in Superman, and we may end up with a Checkmate show.
Yeah,
So,
I
but
just it's
yeah,
just yeah, because I haven't seen a crazy ending like this since, I think, the '90s Superman series. Because that ending for that show alone is pretty nuts. Where with Superman basically becoming a pariah after everything he's done to most of the world.
sure. So, in the episode, then we flash to Hardcourt, who has a major fight at a bar.
Yeah, it was giving me very heavy Black Canary vibes, just because of how she dressed and everything, and how she was kicking their asses until she got overwhelmed.
Yeah, eventually she got overwhelmed, but yeah, but that is part of her damage. She doesn't feel emotion, and that's the only way she can feel anything is doing what she does. And yeah, pretty crazy. And so, flashback to the alternate universe. Chris is trying to keep cool. He's sitting in a room with his dad and his brother. And remember, he killed his brother in a fight when they were kids, forced by his dad. So
Yeah,
seeing his brother alive, I mean, it's huge. And he's trying to hold back tears. And they're talking about stories of when Chris was young, and you know all this stuff. And um, he holds it together, and they're kind of looking at him like he's being a little weird, but they're like, "Oh, that's Chris. Chris is silly, and he's always doing crazy things." And they talk about like he was messing around in the imp dimension, and they were like cleaning imps out of the house for like 3 weeks. Found him in the carburetor 3 months later. Um,
yeah, it's like luckily a good save right there, just because, my God, like that's got to be the weirdest thing, because they always do that when it comes to alternate realities. When you see like either some familiar faces that are either dead or just different or so, and then it's like you're not sure how to process. It's like there's always a process, but I gotta say that's gotta be the hardest for Chris, given that it's
right. Well,
given how
you see as soon as they go out of the room, he breaks down.
yeah. Because I'll say this, John Cena, he's really surprising as an actor, because
Mm.
because I mean he always does like mostly he's before Peacemaker he's done mostly comedy stuff. I mean a few action movies because he can get serious, but for that level of emotion, just like wow, like that's I think as far as for wrestler actors that have been involved in superhero stuff, him and Batista are definitely at the top.
Yeah, he's super evolved since the Marine, which he was not good in at all.
Yeah,
And coincidentally enough, he and Augie worked together. Well, the Robert Patrick, the actor, they worked together on that movie.
yep, I know. That's why I love the fact that they brought him in to be his dad in the show.
Right, right, right. So, and then in that episode, Leota and Economos catch up and they discuss the QUC and Argus because Leota didn't know about it. And then we flash back to the alternate universe, and the otherworld Peacemaker, the otherworld's Chris, finds Chris in his room and instantly attacks him on a super lethal level. They end up going through the QUC door. They have a big fight, and Chris, in desperation, is getting his ass kicked. Hits the other Chris's. He has a jetpack on, and the jetpack flies him into some kind of spiky thing that's on the ceiling and kills alternate Chris.
Yeah,
Dead.
yeah, I know. I was just like, oh damn it, this is gonna be a whole. I have a feeling from right then this is gonna be a whole shit show where either where I expected some things to happen, which eventually did. Just it took a longer than a little bit later than I thought. But I was like,
Mhm.
damn it, like just to keep making mistakes, and that's where we get to episode 2, where
Yeah, exactly. That was the end of episode 1. That's how episode 1 ends.
yep, and from there he contacts Vigilante to help get rid of the body, and my God, Vigilante, he's just so freaking weird. Like
Oh,
he's upset they wasn't involved with the orgy. I'm just like, dude, I know you care a lot about Chris, but boundaries.
exactly. And episode 2 was called "A Man Is Only as Good as His Bird." And we start off finding out that Rick Flag is the director now of Argus, and he's talking to Economos. He wants to see the file of his son's death. And Economos starts to protest and says, "Look, man, there's stuff in the file. You know, you got to understand. Everyone was under the orders of Amanda Waller. You know, we didn't have a choice."
Yep.
And he's like, "Yo, I want that file." So he gets the file. He discovers that Chris is responsible. He relives it by reading it, his son's death, and he orders 24-hour surveillance on Chris.
Yeah, yeah. It's like for Rick Flag's character, I get it, but I'm not sure. I feel like after Creature Commandos for Senior, his characters, it's
Yeah,
definitely going downhill.
he's taking a dark turn for sure.
But the one thing I'm curious about is, at least from Creature Commandos, Waller still seemed to be the director of Argus. So I'm wondering what exactly happened where now she's no longer in charge, or like
Well,
was
because Adebayo ratted her out, so now she's going through Congress to fight these charges, I guess.
yeah, but in Creature Commandos, that took place after season 1 because they mentioned that ads with ads little speech. They mentioned in the first episode. So, but I'm guessing probably the midst of all that, and probably when Amanda kind of almost messed up the mission when they were trying to kill the princess. That probably was like the last straw.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep, yep.
Oh, let's
And
see.
and let's see. After the surveillance, we flash to Chris with his dead version of himself in his arms, and he's attempting to hide the body. And eventually, like you said, he calls Vidge up for help, and they end up slicing and dicing the body. And could you imagine slicing and dicing pretty much yourself?
Yeah, like Chris is just traumatized. Yet Vigilante, he's just
Oh yeah, he's having a good time. He's like dancing around.
to me like that version. I'm not familiar much with that with the Adrian Chase Vigilante. My only experience just been through the Arrowverse. But for this guy, I feel like they're just trying to make him like DC's Deadpool, sort of just minus the fourth wall breaking. Just as far as for being like a sociopathic murderer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's got a what he will and what he won't murder, why he will, why he won't, but nothing is like straightforward. He's pretty crazy. Absolutely. So then we get Flurry shows up in Economos like monitoring van, and then we learned about bird blindness.
Oh god, they even made a little like a PSA thing about bird blindness after that episode.
That was goddamn funny, man.
It was. I was just like, and then with all the Pokemon thing, I was just like,
Yeah, yeah, and then naming the people the different titties and Cupid doll, and yeah, Tim Meadows very funny.
oh yeah, he is. Like I say, that was a good addition, and
Yeah,
I'm glad that for Economos, even though that he's trying to make sure that he doesn't try to rat out Peacemaker, despite with the QUC
right, right. He doesn't
see energy
doesn't
spike.
want them to know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Chris is all depressed, and he ends up like looking at the cell phone of alternate Chris, and he sees all these pictures of like alternate Chris with Amelia Harcourt in like romantic situations, in bed together, all this stuff, and he's like, "Wow, this should be this guy's dead. I want in his head he's like, I could do this. I could be the guy."
Yeah, yeah. Though one thing I noticed that for Angel Death, he pointed out that there wasn't much of a romantic chemistry between Chris and Amelia. Like, do you feel like there was any kind of chemistry between the characters?
Well, from Chris's end, yes. From Amelia's end, no. But I
Yeah,
mean, it's clear, like in the very beginning of season one, and even in, she doesn't really like him, and when we find out later why, not too much later, but then as getting to know him, just like Leota later says in the episode, when I first got to know him, I just thought he was this big dumb guy who liked wacky music, and but you get to know him, and he's really a guy with a huge heart, and he really cares about his friends and what happens.
yeah. Because I like the fact that despite after everything that's happened, how the 11th Street Kids, I love that team name by the way. Like how they got together, have a awesome time up on on Amelia's roof, just drinking, just chatting, just it was nice.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. They had a party. Like, yeah, Chris leaves the house and he goes to a party with the 11th Street Kids. With what you're talking about, they're just having a great time drinking, having a great time. And in the meantime, the Argus team heads into Chris's house and get mollywopped by Eagly. I mean, he decimates them.
oh yeah, there's one thing kind of James Gunn is how he has the animal characters play a role in his movies.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we flash back to the 11th Street Kids party, like we were just talking about. They're having a good time. Um,
And Chris
yeah,
again just mentions the whole boat thing with Amelia, and she just like is pissed off, just like you don't want to deal with me like like there's nothing going on. I was like,
right, right. He
damn,
was approached her because he was worried about her. She's got like scars and stuff, and he knows she's getting in these fights, and she like again exponentially takes it to a different level,
yeah,
and and stomps off.
yeah, because everyone has been commenting on her bruises and everything, even with no matter how little or much cover up she does, like you can't fully hide it.
Right, and then that ends the episode. So that was a shorter episode.
Yeah, because wasn't that a 2 episode premiere or was it only just 1 episode? I think
Was no.
because usually sometimes.
I think we got the first two at first. I think we got the first two, and then it was one each afterwards. I believe.
Oh no, no, oh no, I was wrong. Nope, I was wrong. Yep, they did only the first episode. Then with the man as good as his bird, that was the week after. So yeah,
Oh, okay.
it was one a week. Okay.
So we went to then we go. Episode 3 was named "Another Rick Up My Sleeve." So you start off there. It says it's a flashback. It's 3 years ago, and this is when we finally find out that Amelia and Rick Flag Jr. were having a little bit of an affair because Rick Flag Jr.'s woman is June Moon, aka the Enchantress
Yep.
from the first Suicide Squad movie.
I was like, oh, okay. So I guess both movies are somewhat canon.
Right, somewhat. So, which is interesting because on two different levels. Number one, it's clear that Rick Flag Jr. really likes Amelia, and Amelia's like, "We're friends. I care about you, and this happened."
Yeah.
I don't. She feels for him more as a friend than as a lover. When I think it is the reverse for Rick Flag Jr.
Yep. Yeah. But then, but that's why I think at that point I was like, I'm definitely was not like fully supportive because I feel like it'd be kind of messed up if you're dating someone that killed the last guy, the last person you were kind of involved with, whether or not if it was something of a real relationship or just a fling. I just feel like that's, I don't know, that it's just kind of weird, but that's just me.
I hear you. So then we flash back to alternate universe, and Chris is sort of waking up in, alternate Chris's bed, and he starts interacting with Keith, and they're going to make breakfast or whatever. And in discussing it, he decides that he wants to go meet up with alternate world Amelia and see if he can get something going with her.
Yep.
And so he discovers that he has the peace cycle, which is like a tricked out. It's a tricked out motorcycle. It has like speakers on the side and missiles in the front, gun turrets in the front, and he goes on the road with this thing, and he's getting like this incredible reception. Like people are like waving at him, girls are like flashing him, little kids are like, "I love you, Peacemaker." So
Yeah.
he's never gotten respect like this before. So he's like, "Oh my god!" He's like, "My brother's alive. My dad loves me. This is the perfect world. I'm gonna go meet up with Amelia, and this might be where I belong." He's having a great fucking time.
Yeah.
And then we flash to a scene where we've got Adebayo and Amelia, our world's versions, there, and they're talking about Chris and how Chris is in love with her, um, and Adebayo's like, you're kind of fucked up too, Amelia, and Chris is, he's got a good jawline, he's built well, he loves you, he would do anything for you, he was by your bedside, when you were like, what was she, in a coma or something?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that happened. I think it was like, yeah, just before the end of season one. Like when, yeah, I think that was before he shot his dad.
Right, right, right.
I think there was some kind of confrontation with some of the butterflies, and yeah, yeah, because like ads, she's basically Chris's wingman, trying to in that bit just to point out that yeah, you're both really messed up. You both have had shit happen to you, and
Mm-hmm.
but maybe like, you both can help each other out in that aspect. Of course, for with Amelia, she's a type where she's like just being in denial.
Right, right. Then we flash back to Argus and alternate Earth, where Chris finds that Rick Flag Jr. is alive. So imagine that. Like he's all traumatized. He killed this guy and has been beating himself up about it. And now here the guy is alive.
Yeah, and this one is definitely a bit different than the main version, I would say. And same with Amelia. She's definitely some of a different person. She's not as is not as bad tempered or not rude, and especially even how right down to how she dresses.
Right, right, right. Because they comment on that. But he ends up, meeting up with alternate hardcore with the dress, and they decide to go out to lunch. and they're walking. They have hot dogs. They're getting along, and I guess the Chris that is now dead cheated on her, so she's a little leery of trying like a relationship again with him.
Yep.
And so they decide they both have to think about it. And as soon as they say that, boom, there's an explosion, and some terrorists have taken over a government building, and it turns out that they are the Sons of Liberty. And Chris goes into action. He kicks ass. He kicks everyone's ass. He disables the bomb. And then his brother ends up flying in his armor and smashes the helicopter. And he's hailed a huge hero. And Amelia gives him a huge hug. And he's like, oh my God, this is truly the perfect world.
Yep. He's just loving it because it seems like in that world, him with his family, they're pretty much like the either the only superheroes around, or at least consider like the best superheroes of that world.
Right. And so then we flash back to Argus in our universe, and we now have Red Saint Cloud, played by Michael Rooker, who is the Eagle Hunter, and Judo Master has joined the team, and then that is the end of that episode.
Yeah, one of my friends kept loves that little surprise with Economos' reaction to when Judo Master comes back.
Exactly.
And it is pretty funny. And I gotta say, I think this is like the third character that Michael Rooker has been involved in DC so far, because he was I forgot his character in the Suicide Squad, but he was I forgot the name, but he was like a guy that had like has like very accurate pinpoint accuracy, and I think
Right. I remember that. I can't remember his name either, but I know who you're talking about. The guy that killed the bird.
yep,
Yeah.
because I think his character in the comics is an adversary of Black Canary,
Mm-hmm.
so that's a nice little Easter egg there. And I believe he voiced one of the people that GI Robot interacted with in Savant. Thank you, Angel. Yep, that was a character in the Suicide Squad, and then he voiced pretty much the Nazi that found GI Robot and repaired him
Oh,
before.
right.
Yes, and now Eagle Hunter. And I was trying to look to see if that was like a legit character or not from the comics, but so far no. It looks like Eagle Hunter is an original character.
Okay. Yeah,
Oh
Angel's right hand. He was one of the Superman robots as well. He wasn't number 4 that Alan Tudyk was. He was one of the other ones.
yeah, but I gotta say that was a pretty good episode because it's just, for one, it's nice to see Chris being happy where he has his family. He seems to have a chance with the other version of
Yeah,
Amelia.
hardcore.
Yeah, of hardcore. Yeah, and just it's like the perfect dream world. But he
Yeah,
does.
what comes up must come down.
Yep.
So episode 4 is called Need I Say Door?
Got all these puns.
Yeah. And so we get the 35 years ago. And so we have young Chris, young Keith, and their dad, and they're hunting in the woods. The dad takes a shot at something, and then we discover that it's an alien. And the alien, they go a little further in, and they discover a QUC door. So hence how the technology was found by Augie Smith in our universe.
That's right.
So let's see. So then we flash to what do I have here? The truck monitoring Chris's house, and they're planning to kill Eagly and arrest Chris. And there's a bunch of comedic arguing, with all the characters from the Argus team, and then Economos sends Chris a text warning to let him know what's going on. And Chris and Eagly kind of like book it out the back of the house as everyone else is crashing into the house. And Economos ends up paired up with Red Saint Cloud and ends up clubbing him on the head to save Eagly's life.
Yep, that was pretty, and it's pretty ballsy that he just made that it caused and made up that whole. It's the Prime Eagle.
Did I don't think he came up with the prime eagle. I think he just said that like the two eagles were working together, and then Raid saying Cloud must be. Oh, that never happens. They're solo creatures. It must be the prime eagle.
Oh yeah, right. I was
Don't
like,
worry.
I just can't believe when Ikamas initiated, it actually worked for Chris's favor. And yeah, Ikamas is a good guy. I mean, like he's
Yeah, he cares about his friends, and he didn't want to see anything bad happen to Eagly. And
yeah,
Chris is his boy. He's like, I don't want that shit to happen. He was taking care of Eagly. When Chris is all depressed. So Adebayo comes to pick Chris up and let's say bring him to his dad's hunting. Sorry, guys, I can't read my own handwriting. So yeah, all right. So they book out of the house. He calls up Adebayo to come pick him up, and ends up bringing him to his dad's hunting cabin so he can reset up a new QUC there. Away from his house, away from Argus.
yep. Luckily, thanks to one of the, I guess it was one of another helmet.
Yeah. I guess he has two of them.
It's just crazy with the amount of functions the all the different helmets have. And let me see. I oh yes, Angel. Yeah, I did see what you said about with Adrian in the comics because yeah, for a main vigilante in the comics, it's a bit different. Like, and so I guess yeah, in Mission Enough, I guess in the comics, Adrian was a lawyer with depression, then eventually became a judge. Didn't know about the judge part, and ooh, guess really got depressed.
Yeah, he ends up killing himself.
Well, I guess the good thing that this vigilante is a bit more is a lot,
Positive.
yeah, a lot more positive, and
All right. So, in the meantime, the Argus team wants Economos to hack the keypad outside the QUC door at Chris's house.
yep, and he's
And
taking his time.
yeah, he's delaying as much as possible. And so, in the meantime, back at the hunting cabin, they get the QUC all set up, which of course is a huge explosion and blows everybody back. But he gets it done, and just in time. So when Economos finally gets the QUC door to open at Chris's house, it's no longer there because it is now in the hunting cabin.
Yep, that was a good save, and I gotta say I want to say one other thing with for Angel. Like, I mean, I didn't mind the Eagly subplot. I mean, it gave something for the bird to do, and I did kind of find it somewhat funny, especially later on when what St. Cloud does a bit later. But yeah, to each his own because you gotta spread out usually these 8 episodes.
Right, right.
And speaking of the helmets, Chris says that his dad didn't create the helmets. James said that the origin of the helmets would be revealed in a future project.
Well,
Yeah, because I've seen people have some theories about with the helmets, how it's somewhat has a similar design to Orion's helmet.
mm-hmm.
So there could be a theory that these could be pro- new. I guess the helmets are New Genesis based.
Yeah, they could be.
Yeah.
I am one that totes on part of that. I believe that is a possibility. Um, Especially, I'll get to more of it at the end where I see a lot of connections to that stuff. But in this episode, then we flash to Leota and Chris talking, and he's updating her on what's happened in the other dimension. And of course, she doesn't want him to go back, and he's justifying going, for his chance at love, and his brother and dad are alive. So, Chris reaches out to his. Oh, so Chris reaches out one last time to Amelia to meet her to see if there's a chance, and that she felt something before he decides to just go to the other universe.
Yep.
And they end up meeting at Kupperberg Park, which is funny because Paul Kupperberg is a comic book writer who wrote the Peacemaker series in the 80s, in the late 80s, and sort of solidified how that character was with his dead dad talking to him and being a Nazi and all that stuff. So that was a nice nod to Paul, who was at Terrificon that both you and I went to.
Nice. And oh yeah, but before that happened, Flag Senior paid a Harcourt a visit just to basically, if she knows anything about with Peacemaker, that to let them know.
Right, right. And that he'll give her a job in Argus if she helps to take him down.
Yep.
And so, when Chris is saying, "Hey, let's meet," she's like, "Fuck! Now I got to go meet with him, and he's gonna get arrested, and Rick's Flag Senior's gonna get to do what he wants to do." So she's pissed, and she ends up setting him a code not to come, but he goes anyway. So the end of the episode is Chris driving toward the park, and
Yep.
it's the end of the episode.
Yep. And I gotta say, for James Gunn's with his projects, there's always a pretty good song choice. Although, in my opinion, I say for the opening songs, I do like the first season better than the second one.
Okay.
I mean, the second one it's good, but I don't know. The first one, like the first song for season one, it was really upbeat, and especially I liked it when it was in the final episode. But
Mm-hmm. I like both seasons' music, and it opens me up to music that I'm not familiar with, so that's cool.
yeah, James Gunn definitely doesn't go with just with the usual kind of soundtracks other directors would put in films.
Yeah, and I think in the case of the Foxy Shazam, I think that's more. Jennifer Holland is more of a fan, from what I read, of Foxy Shazam, and then like sort of she put James onto them. So for whatever that means.
Yeah, plus I think it's fitting for this season, and I gotta say, like for Chris, like he definitely made sure he kept his eyes aware for anyone that might try to jump him on the meeting as we
Yeah,
get to the next episode. So
yeah.
like
Episode
good
5, which was called "Back to the Suture," again a pun on Back to the Future. So
gosh.
and that opens on Rick Flag Jr.'s funeral, where Rick Flag is, again, call me Rick, and I'm really sorry, my son and you, and blah blah blah.
Yep. Yep, the usual thing, like we're trying to build a connection and everything, and just because I think even the flashback, he was asking her what happened,
Mm-hmm.
and she couldn't tell him, and that's one thing. I mean, I'm glad they showed how Senior found out. I'm just surprised he's not taking his anger out at Waller because at least from Creature Commandos, they seem to be good friends, and the fact
Mm-hmm.
that she kept it hidden from him, I feel like you would think he would try to say something to her or do something,
Right.
but I'm kind of hoping maybe with whatever they have planned, whatever James Gunn has planned for Waller, that might be revealed because I'm actually because I know they're trying to make her own show,
Mm-hmm.
and this is probably a good segment because now that she's no longer in charge of Argus, where's she going to go from here? But
Right.
that that's for another time. But
Exactly. So then we flash to Cupperberg Park, where Chris is. He's doing everything not. He knows Argus is there because she has warned him via text, and so he's like dodging behind like kids and animals and just about anything he can. And she hears her in her earpiece that Sasha Bordeaux, who is we find out half cyborg, or she's a cyborg because she got half her body destroyed and Argus rebuilt her. She's got a bead on Chris and she could kill him. So Amelia decides to take him out physically, and it was quite a feat to see.
yeah,
He is super fit in this season. And I think from one of the after podcasts that they do, they said, "Listen," she's like, "I had to take it more seriously because if it's going to be realistic that I took Chris down, it's got to look like I took him down."
yeah, no, that was pretty ballsy just to make sure that that he doesn't get killed, even though she kind of just like, even though she did basically helped Argus with the operation, and That was impressive, yeah, because he's a big dude. Like it's just funny to me that how he's not like one of the main heroes of DC yet. He's currently bigger than most of the actors so far.
Yeah. And then we've got the scene where Rick Flag is sort of just more or less beating Chris to death in a cell. And Economos behind the scenes ends up booking him through the computer system. And then that saves his life because, he can't be dead if they just booked him.
Yep.
So, and because he got so beat up, they end up releasing him and not sending him into jail. But meanwhile, Judo Master is tailing him.
Yeah, because let's see. The one actor I felt gave a bit of an uneven performance was Sasha Bordeaux. I just didn't find her performance too believable. Yeah, okay. I mean, I guess it's sort of 50-50. Like, I think she did okay with the role she was given because that's another character that is from the comics, just wasn't familiar with.
Mm-hmm. She's another character from Checkmate, actually. Um, but yeah, so then we get the meanwhile, right, Chris thinks that Amelia's betrayed him. She doesn't realize that she saved his life. And then we flash to Red St. Cloud and we do the whole Prime Eagle thing.
Oh yeah, like how he like I was like, oh god, Eagly's dead, but
I
then
know I think that was the James's intention, and my significant other, she was like, "Oh, they killed Eagly! No, they killed Eagly!" And then quickly we find out it was not Eagly. That Eagly is in fact the Prime Eagle, which is some kind of eagle force, if you will, and all the eagles just come and converge and destroy Mr. St. Cloud there, and he's dead.
I was like, wow, like that was just crazy. I was like, holy crap! Like so the crazy Coot was right about that whole thing. Just too bad I got him killed.
Yeah, it was a. I mean, it definitely wasn't necessary for the story, but it was interesting because you know there's got to be like a reason, and James must already have in his mind that there's a reason that Eagly, the Prime Eagle, would pair himself with sort of this goofy guy that kills people for peace.
Yeah.
I
Plus,
feel I feel like there's a deeper down the line thing that we just don't realize yet.
yeah, I didn't mind it because I feel like it just gave him something. It just gave something to do because for the rest of the season, like he wasn't that involved. Like if he wasn't eating or something, he was just basically defending basically the home turf and stuff.
Right. So after that, Chris is frustrated. He's like, I don't have any, there's nothing good for me on our Earth, and I'm going to go live in the other Earth. And so he writes a note to Leota to tell everybody goodbye. And, he heads off to the new universe. She reads the letter to everyone. Vidge breaks down and crying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the 11th Street kids decide that they're going to go get Chris back.
Yeah.
And that's the end of that episode.
Yep. And look, and he thought, yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, because I definitely wasn't. That's why I feel like Rick's character was definitely going more downhill because all that talk when he said that I'm not making this personal, like there's an objective to this, and I would say that's half true because I would say he definitely wants to have his revenge against Chris with what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I get it. He doesn't. They don't want like a repeat of the Metropolis incident, as they're calling it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so then we jump into episode 6. Ignorance is Chris, and that starts off with we've got Chris, we've got Keith, and we've got Augie, and we've got Amelia. They're like at a restaurant. They're having dinner, and like some little kids, they want to get like a selfie and stuff. And then Amelia's like, all right, I'll take the picture. And they take like sort of this perfect picture, and everyone is so happy. clicks the picture, and then their faces all start to melt.
I know. That was like, what is this, a 90s show now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, they're basically telling us that what we see is not necessarily real.
Yeah.
So then we flash to the 11th Street kids, and they arrive at Vigilante's home, and they meet his mother, and Adrian is very mean to her.
Yeah.
And that they go down in the basement to Adrian's secret room. And the mom, again, is funny. She reveals that Adrian has told a tall tale that he and Hardcore had a relationship at one point, but that now that they're broken up, and she apologizes. She hopes that Adrian didn't
Yeah.
hurt him, and she's just looking at him like, I see, I see.
But my
Um,
God, like,
so funny.
I know. It just makes me curious, like, what exactly happened with this character? Like, what exactly led him down to this path? Because he seems to have a normal mom and stuff. Like, I'm wondering, like, are he dealing with some extreme ADHD kind of guy or something?
Well, supposedly, as we found out in season 1, his dad left because supposedly his dad is gay.
Right, right. Because once the crew gets to the
We're not there yet.
okay, okay, yeah, all right, fine. We'll go at a time because
Yeah, yeah, no worries, no worries. But you can
I'm
definitely.
I'm just surprised that Hardcore didn't beat the shit out of Vigilante for making up that lie.
Yeah, yeah, I'm kind of surprised at too. So they go into the secret room and they discover that for all the people that Vigilante kills, because he only kills criminals, there is stacks of cash and drugs just everywhere, like millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Yep. And everyone's just like, "What? Why do you have all this? Like, why keep it?" And his reasonings, okay, it's somewhat sound. Like, yeah, maybe like you shouldn't be using blood money, or he's not going to let other corrupt people use the drugs and stuff. But I mean, like, you could at least just got rid of the stuff.
Yeah, burnt it or something.
Yeah, like, or just burn it. So, like, I don't know, just take all the drugs, like, just burn it
Right.
somewhere, or
So they decide to take the QUC football, if you will, put it in a door. They set it up, and again, it kind of blows up, and like all the cocaine goes over everybody. Um, and they open the door to the QUC, and everyone goes into Chris Augie's alternate universe, Augie's house,
mm-hmm.
and they enter into the alternate universe, and they're like, what do we do now? And then all of a sudden Keith walks in, and fortunately only comes upon Amelia.
Yep.
And they end up having a weird conversation because she's from another universe and doesn't know what he knows. And
But
he's like, hey, I'll drive you to Argus. So she's like, okay.
but my God, her cover stories, they are not believable. Like, my gosh, she is, and she's supposed to be an agent, but I guess she's probably just more tactful,
Yeah,
not for covering.
technical, not spy, exactly.
It's like, good thing Keith was not that smart, or otherwise, I feel like it was someone else, like Augie, that would not fly.
Right. So now we've got so Keith and Amelia leave the house, and in Augie's house we got Economos, Leota Idabayo, and Vig, and Vigilante decides that he needs to go find his doppelganger.
Yeah, and he's just insistent upon that, and everyone's just like, no, like we can't meet like our alternate selves, okay? Like it because it was going to create a whole paradox thing or something. But he's
Yeah,
still insistent just because, like, I'm sure we're best friends too and stuff, and blah blah blah. Like he's just not listening, and just
right, right, right.
God,
So, and then we flash to, they're driving. Keith and Amelia are driving, and she's looking outside, and she's like, you could just tell, like, something's off. Like, she doesn't know what it is, but like at this point, like, she can't quite put her finger on it yet.
Yep, especially with some of the band names change, or some of the different artists involved with some songs, and Keith, of course, is growing a bit more suspicious and commenting on how she dresses. Like,
Right, right, because their version always is in dresses and she's in jeans. So yeah, and they've never seen that before. So
yeah, at first, yeah, it is, and then once they get into Argus, and because of the freaking Coke explosion, it just
right, right, right,
she gets in trouble. Just I
exactly.
was like, it's just like, damn it, Adrian.
So then we flash to Vigilante finding his doppelganger, and they're exactly the same, and they do the Spider-Man meme,
Yep.
which is cool because now we know that Spider-Man is a thing in the DC universe.
Well, hey, I mean, in the Guardians Chris special, they had Batman be mentioned. So
Right, right. So I like, and we just saw they did Batman, Deadpool, and is announced for next year. We were having Superman, Spider Man. So we're starting to see a little integration going on.
yep. So it's gonna be a possibility between media as well. Hopefully, we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. So then we flash to Rick Flag going to Belle Reeve, and the big cameo. He gets to talk to Lex Luthor, Nicholas Hoult.
Yep.
And they talk about the dimensional portal. A deal is struck where Lex Luthor will go to a not so secure prison, and he'll give Rick Flag some of his people to help with Rick Flag's portal issue.
Yep. That's what I was like. Really? You're going to this guy for the portal when, I don't know, maybe it's like I was thinking, like, in my head, like, oh, I know, why not talk to Mr. Terrific, someone who's not incarcerated, and try to level Metropolis just to settle a personal score with Superman.
Right, right. So then we get to the scene that you were just talking about. Amelia and Keith get to Argus, and because of the blow up with the cocaine making the QUC, the dogs detected on her, and
Yep.
they end up taking her into holding. And just as she's about to go through holding, Chris walks in the front door and sees this going on.
Yep, because he just left the other Harcourt's place.
Right.
Yeah, I will say for this, like, I think after that orgy, after that whole orgy thing, they there hasn't been any more like gratuitous like nudity or anything. They kept it pretty much like PG PG-13 in that regard, and I didn't.
We did see the boob flash though. That was after the orgy.
True, I guess like after the first two episodes, then it just became just not so
Right.
adult.
Just then it was just violence and cursing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so because he's got Pole now in that universe, he decides to go see her in the interview room, his version of his world's Amelia Harcourt. And, he's like, well, what are you doing here? And she's like, we came to get you, you big dummy. And so he starts to, he confesses in there that he loves her. And she's like, I'm a nightmare. And he's like, I don't care. But she still doesn't give any like emotional response to him. And now, meanwhile, both vigilantes discover that they're super similar, and except for that, they are now in a Nazi world. So Vig is the first one to find out that they're in a Nazi world.
Yep, just because the fact that that vigilante is part of the Sons of
Of
Liberty,
Liberty, exactly.
and then how Amelia pointed out that, like, have you noticed that there's not a single person of color? And I just can't believe I didn't notice that at first when I was looking at those other episodes, because
Right.
apparently other people felt that was a hint, even with, of course, with that little dance that Chris did in the opening. I was like, I didn't think of it because I guess it makes sense, because I felt like this was like a very like neo 1950s era kind of thing with how people were dressing and stuff. And then once we saw when Leota went outside,
Yeah,
people
what
and
happens eventually?
it,
Exactly.
I was like, oh my god, like this
So
is I've at the end of that I was thinking like, oh my god, he's going to fight both his brother and his dad, because I was thinking like, like, okay, I guess the dad might still be part of the still like kind of the same person in terms of his beliefs, just at least not a piece of shit dad to his kids. But
right. And then this episode kicks it into high gear. We start getting a lot of like quick flashes. So first we flash to Peacemaker walking out with our world's Amelia out of holding of Argus as alt world Amelia is walking in. Then we
yep,
flash to Keith seeing Leota on the street and slams on his brakes. Flash to Otherworld's Amelia says to Chris, um, I'm sorry. Our world's Amelia says to Chris that she hasn't seen a single person of color since she's
yep,
been there.
yep,
Chris says, like, no way. Flash to Keith getting out of the truck and going, one got out, a black. Leota looks horrified and says, what? Keith lays on the horn. Neighbors start running out of the house, and Leota starts to run for her life.
yeah, that was
As,
just
yeah,
crazy.
and let's see. Then we got Chris looks at the flag on the desk and then sees the swastika, and then it's in the part of the flag where usually like the stars reside,
Yep,
and he goes, "Fuck me." And Amelia says, "So this is your perfect world." Flash to Economos gets caught by Chris's dad, who immediately blabs everything, including that his son is dead now. Flash to Leota running with a whole neighborhood behind her.
yeah, it was just crazy. That's why, because after how he August attacked Economos, stabbed his hand, I was thinking like, oh boy, this is that's what I figured like this is gonna be very problematic for the next episode and everything. I was like, oh god, because like I know James Gunn sometimes. I know for James Gunn, like I guess sometimes he likes to be a little bit political. Like he definitely did a bit with the countries in Superman, and now with bringing in Earth X, pretty much.
Well, he doesn't like Nazis. He proved that in Creature Commandos too.
Yep, that's true with GI Robot. Yeah, just I just think it would be. I didn't think we would get an Earth X, especially after the CW take.
Yeah, I think I missed the CW take on that.
Yeah, it was just basically, I guess, doing the whole like kind of, I guess, like with if it's like the Justice League versus the crime syndicate, just pretty much where the heroes are Nazis on Earth X.
Right, right. I think I've seen the pictures of Supergirl with the SS on her chest.
Yep, and I guess in that reality, that version of Oliver and Supergirl, they were like married or something, and instead of an evil Barry, it's just uh, Thawne Thawne being joining in with them.
Okay. So then we move to episode 7, Like a Keith in the Night.
Yeah, when I saw that title, I was, oh god, like, because I feel like Chris, I'm gonna feel a lot more bad for Chris, but it was. I have a feeling this is going to be a very good episode. I mean, the last episode was really good for with Chris and Amelia, the vigilantes and everything. Then with the
Mhm.
surprise, I guess the surprise twists at the end, and I was like, where do we go from here? Luckily, Judo Master provided the save for Leota.
Right. And I'll give you my theory before we get into how episode 7 goes now. I almost think, well, at least the way I look at it. I look at it because everyone was like, oh, I didn't like episode 8. I don't like how it ended. I feel like the season finale was really episode 7. And episode 8 was the prologue. Only we got an extra long prologue with a lot of emotional depth that encapsulated all the things that we're going to talk about when we talk about episode 8.
Yeah, I guess you could say that for 8 was like the aftermath, really.
Yeah, it was the cleanup.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, because
It was the cleanup and the entrance to possible other things.
yeah, because for with episode 7, I was like, okay, like it has some funny moments, like with the two vigilantes working together, and the two of them asking Leota, like when they find her, like, can you tell us apart? And it's like, you both look, and it's like, come on, there hardly any change of their costumes at all.
Right, right.
And then like how with Chris and Amelia, them escaping Argus, and there was a nice scene where she was like hugging Chris on the peace cycle,
Mm-hmm.
and nice little romantic music.
Yeah, yeah. They had a moment there. So the episode starts. Amelia says, "I can't believe that you didn't realize that we're in a Nazi world." And Chris is like, "How was I supposed to know?" She goes, Mein Kampf on every desk, and how about the mural of Hitler on the wall right there?" And he goes, "How the fuck did I miss that?"
I mean, it's like they never showed any of that stuff like in the other episodes, but
Right, right, right.
but I do. That's a good humor to put out there, like when they showcase. Yeah, here's all the obvious clues.
Yeah. And then Amelia and Chris break out of Argus, and he goes to the other Amelia, "I think I got to break up to you for what I'm about to do." And again, they break out of Argus. Um, and then we flash to Vigilante realizes, that now that they're in a Nazi world, that people are of color are in camps, and that he's like, "Oh my God, I got to find my friend Leota Adebayo." Flash to Leota running for her life again. She jumps in a pool. She's swimming. She gets to the other side. A bunch of the Nazi neighbors follow her into the pool. And Judo Master is at the other side of the pool to pull her out of the pool. And he has these two electrical wires, and he puts it into the pool and electrocutes a whole pool full of racists. Yay!
Oh, hold on. You there? There seemed to be a connection issue.
Oh, did you not hear me?
Hello?
Brian?
Still there? Sorry, just
Brian, can you hear me? No, maybe I should bop out.
no, you're good. Okay.
Am I back?
Yep, you're back.
Okay.
Sorry, it's just like you pause and the audio just went like beep beep beep.
Okay. I'm sorry. So,
Uh,
what was the last thing you heard from me?
Pretty much like with Judo Master with the
Oh, yeah.
electrocuting
Okay.
all the people that were chasing ads.
Right, right. So he, electrocutes them in the pool, and then we flash to Peacemaker and Amelia jump on the peace cycle. They have that sort of moment where she's sort of holding him like tightly, like that he's a real support for her. And then we flash to Chris's dad revealing to Keith that his brother was dead, and that they have to find you know the otherworld Chris and whoever came with him and bring him back before the government finds out that they have a portal, because they're not supposed to have it either.
Yep.
And then we flash to Leota and Judo Master bonding at like they found like an empty house that like maybe someone was on vacation or something like that.
Yeah.
And we find out that Judo Master has been there for days, and he's gone through some of the books on the wall that are history books, and he discovers that the Nazis won World War II in that universe.
Hmm.
And so that's where that was.
Yep.
Then we
So
flash. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yep. So basically, Wolfenstein.
Yeah. So we flash back to Peacemaker and Amelia are getting chased by the cops, and then Keith and Augie come in and kill all the cops.
I think at least Augie. I don't know if Keith killed any of them. I think it was just mostly
Was it
Augie.
just Augie? Okay. And then
Yeah.
Augie says, the Terminator line, "If you want to live, come with me." Which is awesome because, he was in T2 as, he was the Terminator. He was the liquid Terminator from T2.
Yep. Loved. Yeah. Love that line. And yeah, I gotta say, for with Augie's character, when we got to this episode, it surprised me because I wasn't expecting that, but given his explanation, yeah, they don't want the authorities of that world to know about the portal either.
Right, right. And then and right after that, talking about the portal, we flashed to Flag, who meets with Happerson. Because he was involved with like the rift in the Superman movie.
Right, the snarky scientist.
Yeah, and then he notes that it's way more secure than Luther's portal. So then we flash to Chris explains how he got to Augie's house and how he ended up killing his son. He tells Augie, um, and he Augie realized it was an accident, and he wants to find out, and that Chris wanted to find out what it felt like to have a family that loved him here in this universe.
Yep.
And so at that moment, like then the cops knock at Augie's door looking for Chris, um, because he was seen fleeing the scene at Argus. And Augie's like, well, come back with a warrant, but he's not here. Then we flash to outside Augie's house, and we got Vigilante and Judo Master and Adebayo are all there, and they're trying to figure out how to get back in the house. And then we go back inside, and Keith is flipping out. He's like, "We can't let them go. He killed my brother." And Augie's like, "Listen, man, nothing's going to bring your brother back, and this was an accident, and you know how your brother was, and this guy, I believe him. He's not lying. He was attacked by your brother in a most lethal way, and we need to, survive in this world, and we can't let the government know about this. They all have to go back to their universe." And literally after he finishes saying this like great thing that's going to solve all of Chris's problems, Vigilante jumps through the window and starts stabbing Augie to death.
I know that, like that at that moment, I was like, I hate Vigilante now, just because like here we have a decent version of his dad,
Mm-hmm.
and Vigilante just ruins it. Although people point out that that was probably the 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 alternate Vigilante, not the main one. But but
Oh, okay.
I mean, granted, they didn't specify that in the show, so because their costumes are pretty much the same, so you never know
Identical.
which is
Yeah, yeah.
which. But I would feel like no, I feel like the main vigilante, he would not try to kill Chris's dad.
Right. And then they attack Keith.
Yeah, because Keith just went on a blind rampage, and there's like when my God, like John Cena's performance at that moment, that was
Oh yeah, because
surprising.
he screams for because his whole team is like killing Keith, and he already lived through killing Keith himself by accident, and it's such anguish. He's just like, stop! Like there was such pain and rage in that stop. It was chilling. It was truly chilling.
Yeah,
Um,
it was.
yeah, because in that moment he flashes back to they flash back. He flashes back to killing his younger brother Keith.
When
Um,
Yep, when they were kids, it was
yeah,
just, and just saying like, what is wrong with us? And
yeah, and then
yeah,
they just drag Chris back through the QUC, and Hardcore is about to shoot Keith to prevent him, from ever having revenge. And at the same time, like the cops bust in the door and people start shooting, and she just has to. She's shooting, but she has to go through her other universe, and so he lives, and you see him later in going in the ambulance. He's still alive, and he has such rage in his eyes. So we know that like a supervillain has now been created. We just saw that happen, and Chris. They come out, and Flag is waiting for them, and Chris is like, "Look, I went to this other universe, and these guys convinced me to come back and give you the technology. So here you go." And they take Chris to jail, and that is the end of episode 7.
yeah, that was really something. And let's see, I liked how the reveal was handled initially, but when Hardcore pointed out the mural, I felt that was a bit too far into comedy. I mean, I don't know, I still kind of liked it. And to me, episode 7 felt more like the actual finale of the season. Episode 8 felt less like a finale and more like episode 1 of season 3. Yep, yeah,
That's kind of what we said, but we said it was more of an epilogue. But yeah, you could look at it that way as well. But yeah, I guess we're all in agreement.
yeah. The one thing that I liked what they done with the alternate Augie or Blue Dragon,
Mm-hmm.
which I kind of find interesting because even though he was called the White Dragon, the main timeline, it was red.
Right.
Because I always feel like when it comes to like with the symbology of with the red and blue dragon, depending on like how it's handled, there's usually like so opposite. Whereas one might be more fierce and like and maybe not evil, but at least more headstrong. But the other is and calm and reserved. And I would say that's probably accurate with
Right. Well, red is more of a color of rage and anger, and blue is usually cool. So yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. Because when Harcourt was calling him a Nazi, he was like, no, I'm not, I'm not, I'm not with the program here. Okay, I don't support that, and that I felt happy about that because I feel like just I feel like there shouldn't be such assumptions on any front. No matter like with whether if you're whether affiliations or anything because there's so many people and I feel like it's because for this version of Augie he could fight against the system but that could be but like depending on how dangerous the government is of that world it could be disastrous like he may just end up becoming a martyr or something and he probably just wanted to be more I guess kind of like a Superman where he wants to lead by example just handle what he can do and just maybe fight within the system. Ergo, like how his sons go into Argus with no problem. But I would say, obviously, with even no matter which version, how he raises his sons, it's not quite what he hoped because for whatever reason happened, that Chris was darker, which is a nice, I guess, good reflection of the other world where how despite everything August put Chris through, Chris still has like his own beliefs. He didn't agree with everything his father was doing.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah,
So then we go into the infamous episode 8, which was called Full Nelson, which
interest.
is fun because it's a wrestling thing, because of John Cena, and also because of the duo band called Nelson that we see in this episode.
Yeah, because we finally get to see that the boat thing that I kept mentioning, and I had some different ideas on what the deal was with the boat, and it was not what I was expected. But I'm glad it was not.
Okay. So we flash to, it says 1 month ago, and we're Amelia and Chris are eating at Big Belly Burger, and Chris is telling Amelia, which is interesting. I'll pause for a second. We've got Big Belly Burger that's been in a few of the movies, and we also have, which came over from the Flash show with but now I can't think of his name. The CW Flash show.
Yep,
What was that actor's name, Brian?
Grant
Grant
for
Gustin. Grant Gustin. Yeah. Jitters Coffee. So we're starting to get like these little things that are like ruminating in each movie, like sort of building the universe. I think that's kind of fun.
yeah. Yeah, I agree because I always liked seeing how Big Belly Burger has been mentioned in various DC products, and it's nice that's in the movies and now for Peacemaker too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So Chris is telling Amelia about a song that's playing, and then he starts like serenading her and being like, loud and boisterous and embarrassing her a little bit. And he orders a flight. They each have a flight of shots, so it's party time.
Yeah,
They're
that
getting
was
they're getting their swerve on. They're having a good time. They end up leaving the restaurant, and Chris stops Amelia from getting in a fight with a guy. Again, because she always has to take it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Look, we've had a great time. It's a beautiful night. Let's go walk out on the pier, relax." And she dials it back. So she dials it back, agrees to have a good time. She's on the pier. She agrees that um, he was right, that this was fun, and he turns left and he sees that there's a Nelson rock cruise, and he grabs her and they rush toward it, and then we get the intro of the show. Da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na. All right.
Yeah.
So, and then we flash to Chris is in jail, and he refuses to sign off on a visitation list, and he tells the guard that he's the angel of death.
Yeah. Yeah. After everything that went down, yeah, Chris was way more depressed, feeling like he's basically responsible for some of the for a lot of the people's deaths,
Yeah,
whether or
yeah.
not.
His brother and his father twice in two different universes.
Yep, and yep, whether or not he was directly responsible or not, he just feels like he's just a curse to
Yeah,
anyone close to him. And funny enough, they took a somewhat similar approach to the Harley Quinn season 2 finale, where like 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 Harley, Chris just basically let himself just be locked up and doesn't want to interact with anyone.
right.
Granted, for different reasons, but still kind of similar thing. For what was the last episode of that season, where there was no big bad exactly for either characters to face.
Right. So after that, we flash to the Argus teams in the QUC, and they're all in these red outfits because they're checking doors,
Yep.
and they're seeing which ones are locked and which ones are unlocked. So the first one, they say it's door 22 is unlocked, and it's the Candyland universe. And of course, if you've seen it, the imps attack, and Cupid gets his face chewed off.
Yeah, and God, like that was just sad because with Flurry, the other guy, like he was just trying to joke around, have some fun with QP, but then after that whirl, he was like really sad, like just like yelling "fuck."
Yeah, yeah, he was not happy.
Yeah, and just now that's where both Bordeaux and Amelia, they're starting to question, I guess, what exactly is going on here. Like,
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
the purpose of exploring this? Because
yeah,
Rick, because
exactly.
yeah, because Flag was all about like we can't let anything like this be in the wrong hands, otherwise another Metropolis incident. And yet they're exploring all these different worlds. Granted, of course, by the computer sensors, these portals are more secure than what LexCorp has developed. So, I mean, I guess that's a pass, but still, I'm just like, you're basically doing what you're afraid would happen.
Exactly. So Leota ends up visiting Vigilante and convinces him to use the drug money to get like a lawyer for Chris and to bail him out of jail.
Yeah.
So she has to sort of like finesse him a little bit.
Yep. Try and make it seem like, yeah, use the money for good and stuff, which, it's a good point because, I mean, money is money, really.
Right. And
I mean,
and so Chris is like super depressed, and so he ends up picking up Eagly from Economos's house, and he takes off. Um, and then you flash to they got the second open door, and it's a portal into space that's like pulling them all in. They're like, ah!
yeah, some like black hole or something. And I saw that Lex had some notes about that because it looks like Rick Argus is still providing Luthor with some notes
Right.
on the places they're exploring, and everyone's just still like being all like, "Are you sure we're doing the right thing with this? Because we're losing a lot of guys, and yet Flag is doesn't seem to have a care in the world." That's why I just feel like his character has gone really downhill. I mean, but I'll save more on that later on.
Sure. So then we get to the third open door, which is the giant demon spiders. which we've all seen. Like, there's an old 1950s horror comic that supposedly was the inspiration for that.
Yeah,
Then we
then
get the fourth door open, which is the DC. What is it? DC Decimated Universe. I think that's what they call it. Which are basically like the zombies that got turned by Darkseid doing something wrong.
I just remember seeing the one with the giant skulls.
Yeah, the giant skulls was like with that's what I meant. The demon spiders. They were the skulls with like spider legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they were going all over the place with the different doorways.
yeah. So then we lost more Argus, more dead Argus agent, and then we've got Rick Flag laughing with all the Luthor associates because they don't care. And then we get the fifth open door to find a world that has good atmosphere. Hence, oh, sorry.
Very good.
Um, Open the door. They find, oh yeah, good atmosphere. So that's the place that eventually becomes, the prison. So Rick Flag ends up pitching it to Congress as a metahuman jail with no way for anyone to return. And then Rick goes on to celebrate his little thing, and Sasha Bordeaux is like, I'm not really down with this. I'm gonna go, and she ends up calling Amelia to be like, hey, is there anything we can do? And Amelia initially is like, look, we're in the spy business. We're in government things. It's supposed to be for the good, but often it's bad, and it just is what it is. And
Yeah.
eventually, she's like, all right, well, I'll hook you up with my friend Leota. Maybe you guys can work on something together. And then they all end up working on it together, all three of them.
Yeah, because throughout this whole time, Leo is trying to create her own business, either being like an assassin or something, or be like a contract like something. And it looks like thanks to Amelia, now they managed to build something together. And it looks like Angel Death says that it all leads to the Salvation world inspired by the 2000s Salvation run,
Mm-hmm.
leading up to Infinite Crisis as confirmed by Gunn, which is honestly bizarre. Not a big fan of that run.
Okay. I didn't read that run, but I am familiar with it. And in that run, that world was supposed to be a training ground for Darkseid's parademons, and Desaad was sort of in charge of that, who is one of Darkseid's lieutenants.
Hmm.
And we do hear a noise at the end that sounds very much like we heard in the Justice League movies. That sounded like a parademon sound.
Hmm.
But we're not quite there yet. We're almost there.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, and I think eventually at that point, that's when uh, ads and everyone. I think that's when they try to come up, find a way where, like, where can they find Chris? Because Chris obviously is not back at the dad's house. He's in some motel, but luckily,
Right. And
they.
and and then at that point, that's when we flash back to Chris and Amelia at the Nelson concert.
Yep, and
And
they seemed to have a good time at the boat, and that surprised me because I thought maybe with the whole boat thing, it was like like they were at a party or something, and they just got drunk and then had a one night stand thing or something. That's what I was expecting, but
right, but it turned out just to be that they were dancing and they just had like a really nice kiss. And she immediately, right after the kiss happens, she sort of freaks out, goes back to her old self, and's like, "I gotta go," and leaves Chris standing there. And then we flash immediately to Leota and her wife that end up having like a serious life talk and admit that they need different things in life to make themselves happy, and they end up breaking up.
yeah,
I don't know how necessary that was, but I mean, it did wrap up a storyline.
yeah. Because I mean, like the wife was because that the wife wasn't even really even a big part of season one. It was just like she was just sort of there, there pretty much, and was hardly even involved in season two as well. So I guess that's
Right. I think she was more just the basis of Leota's story, where initially she was just supposed to come work with her mother for a short time, and then they were going to go take that money and open a business together, and then that didn't happen. So I guess that is the end cap on that part of the story.
Yeah, and how for Leoa now she actually wants to do the whole like spy or at least have a job where she does have some action, as Waller said one time, that utilize her God-given talents.
Right.
Just of course, but luckily after that, I think they had Economos
Yeah,
or
Economos sort of distracts while Sasha and Amelia end up tracking down Peacemaker.
which was another weird, well, kind of funny, weird conversation just about nothing.
Yeah, yeah, he was trying to tell like some bad jokes and stuff. I don't. I think they could have probably picked better jokes because they have way better writers for that. But it is what it is. Not everything's perfect.
Yeah,
So Leota gets like they end up getting Chris in a room, and Leota gets super emotional about feeling loved by Chris. And I actually I teared up during that part. I was like, I felt that.
yeah, because if it wasn't for Chris and Amelia, like I don't know, I could see Chris and ads just becoming a thing. Just I don't know, just because with that emotional how emotional she became, I was like
Mm-hmm.
damn, because have all the characters like those two, they really bonded. But I
Right.
guess it's fine as like a best friend or
Mm-hmm.
big brother little sister kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it was important that she reminded him the fact that you made everyone else's lives better because like for he was a good like substitute big brother for vigilante and stuff, and helped ads realize what she could do more than just be a pet store owner.
Right. And then like in the end, even like Amelia says that she needs him too, and they all start end up like leaving the hotel, and then Chris kind of calls Amelia back, and she admits, he asks her about the boat one last time, and finally she says, "Of course it meant something, you big dumbhead." She goes, "It meant everything," and she walks away, and he goes back into the hotel room and starts doing his happy dance.
I was like, that's really what he needed to hear. I was like, I mean, I'm hoping that what ads said helped him, but I feel
Yeah,
like it was mostly what Amelia had to say, because I feel like he probably would have gone back if not for her. But it's a love interest thing, so it's whatever.
right. And so then we get the end of it is pretty much a huge montage. So we get the Foxy Shazam concert while the 11th, I want to call it the Foxy Shazam concert montage while the 11th Street kids go to Adrian's. They grab all the drug money. They open their own agency, which is Checkmate, which is the second Paul Kupperberg nod because he was also the writer on the original Checkmate series. Um, and then Eagly hugs Economos, which is super cute and felt good.
Yeah.
And the 11th Street kids walk out of Checkmate building, and Eagly soars above them.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to stop there because there's one more scene, but um, James Gunn said in the after podcast after this episode, the first draft of this, that was the end of the episode. But he went to Peter Safran and he goes, "But I did write this one other thing, and because this, the Pocket Universe that they discovered is going to be further in the DC stories, Peter Safran was like, you got to put this in." So then we flash to Chris getting kidnapped by Argus agents, and Rick Flag gets his revenge as he forces Chris into through the Salvation door, and claims that Chris volunteered to be a test subject, and they've got his signature. And Chris is like, "I didn't sign shit." And he goes, "Well, you're got to be a test subject because if we're going to imprison Soups, we want to find out what it would do to the human body. And you're our test subject." And Chris, tries to jump through the door. The door closes. He looks around. He hears some crazy screams. It sounds like a dinosaur at first, but then the secondary sound sounds like a parademon from the Justice League movies. So that's why I really feel that they're going to tie in like Desaad and the parademons. And that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
So again, that is why I feel that episode 7 was the big, what we come to expect as a finale, which it was the action, some sort of resolution, but there was so much to tie up, and this was such an emotional and more character driven story. They needed a whole extra episode for the epilogue, and I think at least that's the way I like to look at it. Because
Yeah,
I'm not disappointed by that being the last episode, because not all these maybe being an older nerd, I don't need the fight every time to be the end. Sometimes the emotional characters that you're forcing me to love, or I'm loving because of what you're showing me, that feels more important.
I agree because there are some shows I've watched where they would have like the final battle be like the second last episode, so that way after that it's just the aftermath or epilogue where they just like either they try to clean up or do something where they can relax and have some kind of happy ending. And I like that depending on the story, and because not everything has to be a big fight. And it's just at the very end with what Rick Flag did, I was like, oh, I was like, and Emma was like, he really played the long game for having his revenge on Chris.
Yeah, he had a dark turn from, like you said, from Creature Commandos until now, and because Superman, he had a different attitude too. Um,
Yeah, I mean, here's the I think it kind of makes sense for Creature Commandos. Didn't have that big of a role in the story. He was initially the leader, but I guess the team leader for the crew. But then after, all he did was just basically he had a thing with the Bacallistan princess,
hmm
trying to prove that she's not evil, even though
She was evil.
yeah. After that, and then he was just knocked out by nearly killed by Clayface, and then that was it. Because then it looks like if they're going to do any more Creature Commandos, it's now the Bride's team.
Right.
But and then for Superman, he seemed a bit more kind of neutral, just because he was believing what Luthor was trying to do. Because I see like between Commandos and the Superman movie, he didn't seem to really worry too much about like what to do with the metahumans. But after the first movie, seeing like now that how the Justice Gang got involved with stopping the Baravian government,
hmm
I think that's what got him to really be more on Luthor's side with like, we should have something to lock them up. So he's becoming more like Waller, but now with the other extreme, because Waller, she saw metahumans as a resource, ergo with the Suicide Squad.
hmm
Though I say for Rick, he doesn't want to do that.
Right.
But he'll go to the effort just to like, imprison them, leaving them in salvation.
Right. Right. But yeah, but this feels a little like, remember when they did Cadmus and the animated stuff, where they were like, sometimes they were evil and sometimes they helped Superman.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, at least more through with Waller, but still, like this is a crazy ending because as James Gunn said, there's not going to be a season 3. So, however, if this is going to be resolved with Chris and Salvation, that's going to have to be through other movies and series. And
Right.
if they make a Checkmate series, I mean that'd be interesting. Because on a side note, I do like the fact that Bordeaux, Judo Master, and Flurry, they're part of the team now too.
hmm
And let's see, because let me see what Angel Death says, because obviously don't expect to be on one-to-one translation, but if Man of Tomorrow is about the Salvation Plan instead of something like Brainiac, I'd be pretty disappointed. And
Well, there's no guarantees. Nobody's confirmed Brainiac. We've just assumed that from a brain on a casting thing.
yeah,
I wouldn't hold too much water into that bucket.
yeah, I guess it's because the script and with the image of the brain, that's why. But that might be a little bit too obvious.
Yeah.
But I do feel like it has to be something big enough for Superman and Lex Luthor to work together if we're going to see Lex in the battle suit.
Right. Well, that could be Darkseid. Could be Desaad.
I hope it's not Darkseid, just because I feel like even though like we had the whole apocalypse buildup in the Snyderverse, I feel like for here it might be a bit too soon.
Okay. Well, what are I don't know. Maybe, oh, you know what? We could end up with some Dark Side adjacent. What if we end up with like a Granny Goodness and Mister Miracle because they're going to do that Mister Miracle animated series.
Yeah, although I'm not sure if that's going to be an Elseworlds thing or not. I mean, it
Well, I
hasn't been
mean, I think that's based on a specific storyline that's already been done in the comics.
right. Yeah, I just mean like I don't know if that's going to be if they're going to connect it with that, but we'll see. But that'll be interesting, yeah, with however they do because I'm not really familiar with Salvation Run or anything, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it does fit with the terms with gods and monsters because this is all about with dealing with the metahumans, and if they're going to be more involved in within politics and stuff, then yeah, there's going to be some extreme measures, whether if it's Suicide Squad related stuff or basically major incarcerations.
Mm-hmm. Right. But Angel of Death, when you're talking about Steppenwolf, now we're talking about a different DC. That was the DCEU. Now this is what the DCU. Is that what we're calling James Gunn's universe?
Yeah, just DC universe.
Oh, just DC universe. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what I feel like. I hope it's not Darkseid because I feel like that should be a later chapter, like maybe like when we have more of a Justice League established.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, now with after seeing this, I mean now it makes sense when James Gunn has stated that we're going to see some of the characters from Peacemaker appear on other shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Eh,
Absolutely. Well, we've already seen Economos in Creature Commandos,
Yep,
and he was in Suicide Squad as well.
yep. He appeared on Suicide Squad, and he also had a cameo in the second Shazam movie, even though that's hard. Even though that's probably not canon anymore, which is a shame because I did like Zachary Levi's Shazam.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so this could be though. I feel like this is a good setup for with the Waller series that's supposedly in the making because I'm curious to see like what's her story going to be now that she's not in charge of Argus.
Right.
Oh, and Tim Meadows will be in Man of Tomorrow. All right.
Yeah, I think I read that as well.
Okay. Yeah. Because
So yeah, so that's some we've got some definite. That's checkmate crossover right there.
yep. And I do actually find it adorable that for Checkmate this was something that Leota is a part of
Mm.
because I believe because Waller was either a founding member or at least a high-ranking member of Checkmate
Okay.
in the comics.
Yeah, I believe they Leota and her mother they reconvene. Their relationship resumes, and Leota ends up working for Checkmate, like with her. So in the comics, so that's pretty cool.
I wasn't sure if Leota was an actual character from the comics.
Um, uh, I know I know in Checkmate there was a daughter. I don't know if her name was Leota Adebayo. I honestly don't know that. I'd be guessing.
Gotcha. Yeah, because once again, through James Gunn's work, it's a first reveal for everything because at least through my experience, because I only know things through summaries after watching certain adaptations. So, at least to my knowledge, I had no idea Waller had any children
Hmm.
because she's not. Okay, so I guess Amanda having a daughter, I guess that's original for James Gunn's take.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
And I thought it was also interesting the part where Economos spits in Tin Meadows' eye. He didn't really spit on him. They actually have a machine that sort of launches like a. It's sort of almost like a. He said it's like it's almost like what do you call it? The glue that used to make balls in your hand. He's like it launches one of those at you.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about, but the word escapes me.
But they have a little machine that sort of just
Oh, like spitballs or something.
yeah, more or less.
Yeah, but man, I'm gonna miss Augie Smith now. At least the alternate version, because I was thinking that maybe because through all the portal exploration that um, the alternate Keith might have found a way to get to the main world just to try to find Chris. That's what I was expecting for the last episode, but I guess that's going to be saved up for another time.
Maybe with his bird blindness, he'll be the one to say, "It's a bird, it's a plane." Nah, dumbass, that's Superman. Yeah,
That would be perfect comedy if they managed to do that.
there was there's a guy that's kind of famous for like doing his own version of movie posters. I think he's Boss Logic, and he did a version of where it used to the real poster is Peacemaker with his head against Eagly. So this one did his Peacemaker with his head against like a duckling, like a yellow duckling. So because of the bird blindness. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh, that's I gotta find that. That's just beautiful. But yeah, still, I didn't think I would like Patrick Wilson's character in season two, but it's just surprised me because in
Patrick Wilson,
no, not Patrick Wilson. I forgot
Rob,
the I
Robert
for,
Patrick, Augie.
Robert Patrick. Yeah,
Yeah. No worries, no worries.
yeah. I just like that because I feel like that. Yeah, just because I feel like no matter how messed up, like with whatever world we're in, I just feel like, especially for what today, I just feel like we shouldn't just like take anything harsh against like. I feel like we should just try to be more under understanding because I guess I just like the themes James Gunn's been doing between Peacemaker and Superman. To be more calm and considerate because I guess I just like that line from Lois Lane when she says like how like you just think like everyone is beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
and I like that despite whatever someone has done or whatever someone has done like Luthor and everything, like Superman manages to keep his cool. Like he's not like trying to like entirely boss over everyone or try or get vengeance for the deli guy that Luthor killed just for information.
Right. Well, I mean, listen, that's the way that I grew up. I know I'm a little bit older, but like I grew up, and we used to have on Saturday morning Schoolhouse Rock, who said like our whole country is a melting pot, and we all need to be respectful of each other's different views and stuff, and we're all human beings, and for me, like to me, like when people say race and stuff, it's a construct. We're all human beings. We all have hearts. We all have blood. And we should all be looking out for each other in this world. And I don't think that's such a bad message to have in an entertaining movie.
Yeah, and same goes with Peacemaker. With surprising with that, as we call it, the finale episode. Just because I just feel like that. The only thing I guess I want to say is that whatever problems we have with any current administrations, I just feel like at least amongst people who are just just regular people, or just people who are just maybe vocal about some things or whatever. Like I to me, I guess I wouldn't take it to heart, just not be so sinful, because that's what I liked about how with that version of Augie, that I'm just glad I was wrong to thinking like he's not as bad as like the actual Nazi version. He's just trying to fight within the system, which I say that's probably the best way to go about this, because I mean, hard to say if that blue dragon, like he could probably change the world, but that would be a bad message too, because whatever government systems in that world on, because he seemed to be a bit terrified, I guess, of whoever's in charge of that world.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I feel like he probably could just take them all out on something, but that would just leave just replacing one dictator with another.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Angel of Death, I'm curious if they stop the movie with at the end of the checkmate scene. Would you have been more happy if they did? Where they all walk out, they have the montage, they come out of checkmate, Eagly's going in the air, and like James Gunn said at one point, that was the end of the episode. I'm curious if you would have enjoyed that more.
Mm.
We'll,
Yeah,
we'll, we'll see when he gets back to us.
yeah, because
Oh, see, he said he would prefer it.
I don't know if I prefer it. Just for me, honestly, just
Mm-hmm. Well, I like the way it went, but I'm just curious because if that one extra scene kind of really, some people I think were really turned off by it. I think because there's not an ending, and like you said, as of now, James Gunn said there is not going to be a season 3. So, but I mean, I think that could just be a sort of a sort of be like, hey, we're just going to call it checkmate, but that's really season 3.
yeah. That's why I imagine either it might continue through with Waller, or if she might try to be and take charge of Checkmate, or yeah, if they make a Checkmate series.
Mm-hmm.
The
Right,
scene, the
right,
scene of
right.
the scene of Flag sending him to salvation, I found unsatisfying as a season or potentially series finale. I mean,
Sure. I mean, I can see that. I understand.
in a weird way, I guess I kind of like it just because it's, as you said, it's different than other show finales, because here is like where Flag, as I guess really Flag is kind of the big bad, where he gets his revenge, really, just not by just killing Chris, just by imprisoning him on salvation. And
Okay. Well, I would say to Maverick down there, if you think James Gunn is overrated, what other projects did you not like of his? Because I thought Superman was great. I thought Creature Commandos knocked out of the park. I thought all the Guardians movies and the Guardians Christmas thing was fantastic. I was always sort of medium on Slither, but I think that's his second movie. I think his first one was Tromeo and Juliet,
hmm,
and I like Brightburn.
hmm, yeah,
Okay, so he only likes Guardians of the Galaxy 1. So, all right. So, can't like everyone. Not
yeah,
everyone can like everything.
yeah, yeah. 'Cause, I mean, I'll admit, sometimes for me, partially, like I always felt like it was such a recurring theme when it comes to, like, with James Gunn's work, making a group of misfits or unlikely people to team up, because I felt that was so recurring after Guardians, because it was the same thing kind of with Suicide Squad, especially with Peacemaker. But but there are some differences, mind you, because like for Suicide Squad, they have no choice, but you could see that for some of them, they were beginning to like each other.
Mm-hmm.
And same with with Peacemaker. With Peacemaker, it was a bit different, just because like all those, because the most Celestial kids, they're just regular people or just normal agents. Whereas with Chris, even though he's a vigilante
Right.
kind of guy.
Well, and again, it's most people you run into have some kind of damage, some kind of mental damage from something that happened to them, whether it's in their childhood or they're in adulthood or anywhere in between. And it just showed that damaged people have value and they can find unity and family and love and try to figure shit out together. And that's sort of what happened at the end of this one, Checkmate, until we got that last scene with Peacemaker, because we felt like, I'm like, all right, he's having his happy day. He's united. He understands. He has love. He has support, and fucked over.
Yeah, that was quite a surprise
Yeah,
to see.
and
And
and James does like to he likes to make you feel. I mean, if you didn't feel in Guardians 3 when Rocket's little girlfriend gets killed, Jesus Christ, I mean, I'm bawling like a little child.
yeah, that was really intense. And again, he really knocked out of the park with Superman, because usually he just works with lesser known characters or obscure characters, but he he did a very good job with handling Superman.
Right. And listen, love him or hate him, just like wrestling, you're one way or another, you're giving in to the love or the hate. Either way, you're giving it power. So
Yeah. And although I don't care for cameos as a main draw, but when James Gunn kept saying that the finale is filled with too many surprises, finding out that he meant his favorite bands would appear was more bizarre than surprising.
yeah, and then we also had we had Happerson, and we had Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, and then we had Otis, who was also in the Superman movie. So I mean, just because they're not the cameos you thought they were, just because I know why it is. I know why everyone thinks it is, because on Instagram there was a picture of David Corenswet with John Cena, and they were both in their outfits. But you just assume that.
Yeah.
It just happened that they were filming on the sets right next to each other at the same time period, and they took a fun picture together after filming one day, and everyone just assumed that it was a cameo. So I'm sorry. In that case, I blame you or whoever as a fan, because you made assumptions that you built something up in your head that wasn't there.
Plus, James did say that David Cornsett would not. I think he said that Superman would not appear in Peacemaker season 2.
Oh, did he? Okay, see, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember if they meant like in terms of the actor or the character, because in one preview with the how deep the guy's voice was, I was thinking maybe somehow they might have found Ultraman slash Bizarro,
Mm-hmm.
but that was a theory I kept to myself because I don't know, the guy's voice sounded deep like Chris, like I mean like David's,
Mm-hmm.
but no, it was just the scientist that looked like Dabney Donovan.
Right, right. And listen, and James Gunn likes to fuck around. He likes to have fun with the audience. So, maybe at the end there was a part of him that was like, after Peter Safran was like, "Hey, you should really put that end in." Maybe sometimes he wanted to give a little bit of a fuck you to the audience, just a little bit.
Yeah. And I gave it the Angel Death. Yeah, the cameos should not be. Yeah, it should not be a main draw. It's just
Mm-hmm.
I would say in this case it was for like with the Justice Gang that was just something a little bit giggle for laughs and to establish what Maxwell Lord's character is going to be for the DCU as and for Luthor I feel like that's to really build up to whatever is going to be happening when we get to Man Up Tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. That the Lex Luthor cameo is a pretty big cameo. I think people are really underplaying that. It's a TV series, and you just had a huge movie guy, cross over into a TV series. I mean, I don't know. I think it's cool.
Yeah, same for here, and yeah yeah, Angel for Creature Commandos. Yeah, like the princess and the plot that was happening that might have been self-contained, but who knows? It might lead into something because supposedly Grodd's. Who knows? Maybe Grodd might have something planned up because he was in that possible future if the princess was still alive.
Yeah, I think didn't they show? Wasn't he like in one of the videos, one of the security videos?
No, that was just Clayface.
Oh, okay.
But I just remember, like in the vision that Cersei had, it was some. It looked like Gorilla Grodd to me.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, yes, I agree. Lex was a big cameo, but not entirely surprising because we already had characters from Superman appear in the first episode. Hmm. I don't know. I found Luthor kind of surprising because Nicholas Hoult, he's a big name movie actor. Sometimes not everyone would want to make an appearance on a TV show, even if whether if it's streaming or cable. But
Right, right.
they
And
managed.
I'm not trying to like change your mind in any way, Angel. I'm just trying to like throw out possibilities that not everyone thinks about, and you know, I happen to like it. Brian liked it, but maybe you didn't like it for whatever reason, and that's okay too. But we're just all nerds discussing it.
Because I kind of like it because in a way it's similar to like with when you read a comic book because there's going to be some characters in there that might appear once or twice, but it might lead to something later on or something.
Right, right, right. But yeah, I think that's about all I got on season two. I mean, I'm looking forward to whatever James rolls out next, and I do want to see John Cena further this character because he has gone so far with it so far, and I don't feel like his run is done.
Yeah, no, I know either. Yeah, because I have a feeling that with salvation, with the whole salvation thing, that might be something we get to see more of through Lanterns next year,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll see what happens between with Supergirl and the Clayface movies.
Right, absolutely. It's all going to be fun.
Yeah,
But in the end, we all win because they're just expanding the universe of the stuff that we enjoy.
yeah,
And do we expect to love every single project? No. But as long as we like the majority of them, then we know that they're doing a good job.
yeah, yeah. I definitely agree with that, and yeah, and yeah, and for thank you for Angel Death with providing with the info on the comic book stuff and everything. I'm glad you're always my go-to guy with that stuff.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's just I liked all the characters that disappeared. Thought the music band sequences went on forever. Maybe more towards the finale because it. But that's just me being like, sort of not sort of expecting something bigger than just
Mm.
bloop bloop. You're stuck in Salvation World. How is
You too, Angel. Take care, man.
But anyway, thank you again, Velvet, for joining this podcast, and thanks to all any of the rest of you that watched this stream, and be tuned in for more, especially for in the next 2 months when DC December starts rolling around.
All right. Looking forward to that.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night. Take care.